Hello, thank you for being with us. We are here to learn how to work with formulas. A formula, in simple terms, is a mathematical expression designed to give a result, to solve a mathematical problem. We've seen formulas in many areas, including business. Uh, my name is Eric Bosa. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. In the comment section, there's a link that allows you to do quizzes. You do a quiz to test your learning. So when you're through with this, you can check in the comment section and find a link to do an online quiz. Once you submit it, you are assessed. So keep tuned to the channel. We are working with functions and formula. So like it has been said, we are in business. We can use a formula to find the profit. That is the difference between the income and the expenditure. So a formula is used in that case. And there are many other cases where we can see formulas in action. So income, when you total up all the income and subtract the expenditure, you get a profit, margin, or loss, depending on which one is greater. So that is an example of a formula. And we are going to see how the spreadsheet can help us to make computations using its features. So in a spreadsheet, we have formulas among the menus. So there are many formulas, and we are going to see them gradually as we advance. So a formula is made of parts. We have what we call operators, which is a symbol, a mathematical symbol signifying what is to be done, and values, which are to be calculated upon. So we have operators and values, as we are going to see. So in the illustration, we are having a simple computation, adding two values, and we get a result. The values that are to be added, 2 for this matter, and 3, are what the calculation is handling. It's working upon these two values, and we have an addition symbol, which is the operation. So this is an addition operation, and the values are those as highlighted. 2 and 3 are the values, and the plus sign is the operator. So this is an addition operation, and what we have is a result after the operation. So in a spreadsheet, we also have the values to be worked on and the operator. So as we see, we can have very many operations depending on what is to be done. So on our keyboard, we shall see various symbols representing the different operators. So adding, we have a plus sign on the numeric pad. We have subtraction, the minus sign. Then there's multiplication. Multiplication is represented by what we call an asterisk symbol. Then we have forward slash to represent division, and the caret represents exponential or power, raising in a value to a given power. So on your keyboard, you'll see the corresponding symbols, the addition symbol or operator for this matter, subtraction. When you see the asterisk, it's for multiplying. If you have to multiply two values, use the asterisk between them. And if you have to divide values, you use the forward slash. So depending on the operation, you can use the corresponding symbol. So here, it's addition. Then I can subtract the two values. get a result. Then if it's multiplying, I use the asterisk. And if it is division, we use the forward slash symbol. So depending on the situation, use the corresponding symbol to give the corresponding result, okay, as displayed. So each computation can be performed with those corresponding symbols. Now, with the spreadsheet, we operate by starting with an equal sign. When you put an equal sign, you are informing the application to turn to the formula mode. So the equal sign has to start, and then you follow it with the values and the operator. The value and the corresponding operators. So this one is symbolizing the addition of two values. Addition of two values, but you start with the equal sign to symbolize the application that you are going to perform a computation. Once that is done, you go ahead by pressing the enter key on the keyboard, and the result is got. Similarly, you can perform other computations. For example, I can do that, and then when I press the enter key, gives me the corresponding result, okay, as displayed. Go on showing the different computations. So we get to see how one can compute with the spreadsheet using the corresponding keys on the keyboard. So that is about the formulas, how they are created. Now we are seeing that we can put values directly into the formula to give results. But this is not a practical application for spreadsheets. For spreadsheets, instead, we use cell addresses. The cell address is what we put in the formula, and we set it to give results. So this is an example. I want you to take note of the colors and try to derive meanings. The colors correspond to the addresses where the value is got. So in this case, you are telling the spreadsheet to go to a given address and find the value there, and then go to another address, also find the value there and add those values. So here in a spreadsheet, practically, as we are going to see, we use addresses as values. The addresses represent the values. So once you are there, you still get a result like you have seen in the previous case. So here you're using addresses, but in the other case you've seen, we are just using the values themselves. So the second case here, where we use addresses, is the practical application that we use in spreadsheets, as we are going to see. Now we are looking at a case, a practical application. We are showing how to compute values. This is an example of a mark sheet, and we are adding up values here to get a sum of the values. So you can sum by adding the real actual values, or you can do it with the addresses. There are two approaches. One where we are entering the values, another one we are entering, say, addresses. You still get the same result in both cases. In both cases, you get the same result, whether you are using values or cell addresses. So, but which one is more practical? When we make entries into the addresses, when we make entries into the first address, we have to copy it through the rest of the addresses. We don't repeat the entry, but rather we use what we call the autofill handle, a small notch at the active cell. So when you look at the active cell, at the extreme, we have a small box. When you run the cursor, you hover the cursor over it, it turns into a black cross, a solid cross. So that is what we call the autofill handle, and it copies the effect in an address. For example, if I have an effect here and I run the autofill, it copies that effect. Or even if there's content, in the address and the effect, the formatting, it is copied across the cells over which I drag using the autofill. So when you drag the autofill, it copies the effect, the formatting in this case, and the content of the address. So that autofill is handy when we are transferring formulas to the rest of the items. So when I copy, the item goes to the others, the rest of the values. So if I'm using value entries, the value you are noticing does not change because I already made entries into the address. The entries are the ones that are computed, adds these values and gives the same result in each case. But if I'm using addresses, it is different. When I copy the formula to the others, you can click and drag or double click the autofill on the box, the active cell, the cell with the formula. You double click, it's autofill, and it is copied the rest. So here, the computation is with respect to the values that I have. So here, each value is calculated, because the values are the test scores here. They are being calculated in each case. So the system calculates each of the test scores independently. Calculates these ones and gives us the result. It calculates these ones and also gives us the results. So it gives us the result of each of the scores. In the first case where I entered values, the values are rigid, they are static. It computes the same values and gives me a uniform result. So this is not a practical application. The spreadsheet, rather, we use cell addresses which inform the application where to pick the values to be added. So in this case, you're seeing we are having addresses. So the addresses are these ones. Okay. I want you to take note of these colors which correspond to where the values are coming from. Each address corresponds to the color of where the value is coming from. So in this case, if you are to do this, you place the equal sign and then run your cursor to where the value you want to be picked is. The address here is E4, okay? But it is easier to click there. When you click there, the system puts the address for you. Then you go on to click add and click where the corresponding address is. So wherever you click, the address adds into the formula. And then the colors correspond to show you how they match. Then from here, you press the enter key and it gives the result. So that is how we use the formulas and functions in a practical application.